They're looking behind them and they think they're safe. They eventually get to a part where they think, right, okay, we're in the clear now. And the Alsatian says, right, I think we made it. I think we're safe. And the little Jack Russell turns around and goes, yeah, but we're still getting turkey, right? Endless supply of high watermark comedy.
And
Brilliant.
And that.
And that. and that, yes.
Yes. So welcome everybody to this week's digital download and the last of 2022. And what a year it's been. It's been our first full year of digital download because we started kind of midway through the previous year, didn't we?
The longest running business live stream on LinkedIn.
In the world.
In the world.
Yeah.
In the universe. Yeah, so how very exciting. And I think that this is a great time of year for all of us. I mean, the problem when you go on vacation during the year is that everybody else is still working. So you inevitably come back to this mountain of work and catching up that you need to do. And the lovely thing about Christmas is whether you celebrate Christmas or not, basically the whole world shuts down. So you can put your feet up, eat too much, watch too much TV, and know that actually people aren't sitting there waiting for you to come back from your holiday. So it's a nice opportunity to really reflect on what's happened during the last year and think about how this informs what we do during the year that we're about to head into. And you know, when we look back over what's happened this year, you know, we've talked about networking, we've talked about storytelling, we've talked about personal development, we've talked about ASMR, we've talked about coaching, video, the Great Resignation, sales in Q4, Gen X, the power of live streams. We've had great guests on that have joined us about
doing some ASMR. That's for his OnlyFans page, though.
We've had guests on that have been experts in gratitude, in data, in entrepreneurship. We've had Brent from the Challenger sale. We've had conversations about the future of work. We've had conversations about creators. We've had some aha moments, loads of aha moments for me, certainly. And we've had some laughs. I still think back to when Nick filled up his bottle of drinking water and Brentney, who was introducing the show, just cracked up and couldn't talk for 5 minutes. She was just absolutely tears streaming down her face. So you know, we've learned a lot and we've covered a lot of ground, I think, during the year. So what have you guys learned? So before we ask that question, let's go around and introduce ourselves. Eric.
Hi, I'm Eric Doyle, based in Aberdeen, Scotland, and we are Crux, and we are partnered with DLA Ignite.
Tim.
Hi, my name's Tim Hughes. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite, and I would just like to point out that somebody has a TED Talk out today.
Yes.
That's cool.
Which means it.
Whoa, Alex. Easy, Tiger. That's private. Yes, thank you for that, Tim.
So, Tracy.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tracy Borison. I am in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. So I'm the extension of the Crux team representing the Great White North. And it's been white for a while. And we, like Eric said, are very proud partners of DLA.
We're with you on the snow.
we're not where I am. It's lovely and green at the moment. Lenwood.
Hi, I'm Linwood Ross, founder and CEO of Accelerate. We're based just outside of New York City and partners with DLA Ignite.
Alex.
Let's figure out how to do this.
Alex Abbott, founder of Supero and proud partner of DLA Ignite.
And Rob, and I have to say that on looking back over the live streams, the digital downloads that we have done throughout 2022, I think Rob has been on more of them than anybody else. So well done to Rob. Fantastic stuff. So
I feel like one of those Hollywood Squares D-list celebrities. Good morning, all. I'm Rob Durant, founder of Flywheel Results, based just outside of Boston, Massachusetts, and a proud DLA Ignite partner.
And it looks like Tim has now he's
I'm his
channeling,
co-pilot.
channeling Rob.
Yes, we're in for some turbulence. Yes.
So what has everybody learned during the last year, and what's changed in the world that we've seen?
If you don't mind, I'd like to start.
Please.
In some ways, it felt like most of the lessons I encountered this year taught me nothing new. That is something that I hadn't been taught before. However, the fact that I had to learn them again, that is, experience the lesson again, go through the struggles, speaks to whether or not I even learned them in the first place. I guess repetition builds recognition. But if I were to combine all of this year's lessons for me into one statement, I guess it would be this: nobody accomplishes anything without the people around us and the giants who came before us on whose shoulders we stand. So, in other words, my network is everything.
Yeah, very very powerful stuff. I think that we're seeing more of that, aren't we? We're seeing the penny dropping with more people. So for you, it was a reaffirmation of something that you already knew. But I think we're seeing lots and lots of people are now starting to see their network playing a more pivotal role in how they behave, how they generate business, how they have more conversations, how they. Hello.
Hi. Just thought I'd drop in.
How they organise their business, and I mean, is that something that we're all seeing? Do we think?
Who is it that
Apparently
keeps
not.
banging a drum? Someone keeps banging a bass
It's
drum.
Lenwood on his desk.
Oh, is it? I think Tracy was going to grab that one. See what I did there? You raised an eyebrow.
I would like to be able to say yes, but I think that there's just so much. This was similar to what I was going to share as well, Rob, is that I just think as much as there's been a lot of talk in 2022 about doing something different, right? And now we've seen this huge shift in how employees interact with businesses, and we've seen a huge shift in the power dynamic, and we've seen a whole shift in marketing from this kind of old school advertising to back to relationships, which is really where it started. But I just feel like most people have done nothing with that, right? So we talk about it and we get really excited about it, and then we go back to our day and we do the same old things over and over, and they continue to not work. And then we're just like, well, we'll just wait for the next big global thing to make it work. And I don't know, I've been reading your posts lately, Adam, and I can feel the frustration from you on that as well. And I'm just like, what I was going to share is that, like, you can't just get the thing by not doing the thing, right?
There you go. That's the
You
quote.
gotta do the thing.
You can't just get the thing by not doing the thing. Let's just work that into all our blogs.
2022 in a nutshell.
That's true. But if you think about what we have shared with our audience over the last 3 months in particular, you know, we've had deep industry experts that have got specialisms that, you know, we all have a little bit of an understanding about data. But compared to Orlando, head of data at Lego, we know nothing about data. You know, we all understand a little bit about coaching and personal development. But when we talk to Hazel, you know, it's like, okay, I know nothing. And each of these people has come onto the show, and they've shared a depth of expertise and knowledge that that in some ways is very humbling, isn't it? Because we see true experts, and all of those people are people in our network, either connected to one of us or all of us or loads of people that we're connected to. And and the power of assembling that kind of Avengers type group, that superpower, those people that, it's not a debate. When you talk to Orlando about data, it's not a debate about what you need to do. It's a statement. This is the way that this works. This is what you need to understand. And that's surely incredibly powerful for us. And it's a strong message for everyone that sees these superstars in their various disciplines sharing a lifetime's worth of knowledge and expertise, so that we don't have to spend a lifetime learning these things.
Well, and I just wonder, and everyone else who's here and listening live, get in the chat, tell us what you learned as well. But I would wonder, right? Yes, there were some people that we had on as guests that I wasn't connected to yet. And I was like, oh man, I need to be connected to Orlando. I'm like the world's biggest Lego fan, right? And I have no Lego. You guys see the Lego back there? But did everybody else do that? Did people come and hear the experts and connect to the experts to continue learning from the experts? Because one of the things that I say pretty consistently on my show, Conversations, is that if you're interested in a thing, if you're interested in shifting or pivoting, are you staying in the conversation? Because it's awesome that you come and listen to our talking heads on the digital download. But the goal here is to empower people with information so they can do something different. So what do? You come, and that's great. And what's the next thing you do?
I love that. The amount of people that that I know in my network that see our thing when we've got a specialist on or whoever. Remember we had Greg Sattel. Someone contacted me afterwards and said, I really enjoyed your show today. That was really, really cool. That guy could probably really help us with some of his thinking, and that's really, really cool. And I said, well, why don't you reach out and connect? That's why we do these things. That's why we bring these people on. Oh, no, I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Well, what would I say? Hi, Greg. I saw you on the show. I thought you were really great. I think you could really help us. Greg is not going to say, how dare you contact me? I will not be connecting with you. Thank you very much.
Don't you dare get on my DMs and compliment me on my brilliance. Don't you dare.
Brilliance. How dare you? Yeah, exactly. Just so if it's okay to share my learning, so that speaks to the biggest thunk for me this year. When I first hooked up with you know that guy Tim Hughes? I met Tim. I read the White Book. I read the first book, and then I met Tim, and Tim said, "Why don't you come and join us?" And I met Adam, and I started training. And it was like some days when I was going through this, having 20 odd years in traditional commercial practice. Some days I felt like, when Jack Nicholson in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest walks back into the ward pretending that he's had electric shock therapy and he's walking really, really slow. Some days I left this room thinking, what am I doing? This is just like, then it all started to crystallize. Slowly but surely it started to crystallize. And I used to write articles about a concept that I had some data to back up, to validate, which was, I used to talk about the digital divide. Many people have spoken about the digital divide. We've got people on one side of a river, on a river bank, working in analog ways, and there's a river bank, and it's a digital river, and there's people building a world on the digital side. Now, I used to write about that and speak about, come on, guys, the digital bridge is getting narrower and narrower. The digital divide is widening and all of that. I used to write about it in a kind of flippant, glib way. I was just trying to express to people that there is a divide here and all of that. Never have I understood a concept more and actually seen practical evidence of it, the digital divide, than this year. It all came, all the dust cleared. And we're now at the point where the digital divide is vast, absolutely vast and deep. That chasm is deep. And, having met with very digital organizations, having met with very analog organizations and everything in between, this issue that we have between companies who are holding fast on traditional and analog and companies who've skipped over and said, I'm going to sample some of this. Oh, this is really cool. Our pipeline's up, or we're getting more recruits, we're more visible and all of that. A few people have ran across the bridge and are planting seeds over there. We now call it the sort of digital twin. I've never seen, and it's actually beginning to make me nervous. I'm not at the frustrated level. I'm nervous now when I talk to companies who are holding fast because of old-fashioned ideals. I don't really think it's for us. I don't think we're a digital company. I don't really think our industry is digital. Well, let me show you some stuff. Let me show you blah 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 blah. Who are your target clients? Give me 3. Them, and them. Okay, there's 145,000 of them on one platform on available to connect with. They're having conversations and they're applauding your competition, which means they're in your competition's networks. Yeah, but well, I'll tell you what. We'll take a look at it in Q4 next year because we've got a lot of marketing stuff to do this year. We've got lots of ad campaigns to run. We've got all our Google ads to sort out. The whole SEO thing. Is it going to be on? Is it off? We've got lots of stuff to do, and then we've got to do that the voice of the client and all our client mapping and all of that, and then we'll come round to the point where we'll think about digital maybe summertime next year, and you think, oh my goodness, you're the world is pulling away from you. Your commercial horizons are pulling away from you.
Yep.
And I used to write about that in a kind of like, hey, the digital divide, need to watch it. Now it terrifies me. It terrifies me when I meet companies who are so blinkered and so belligerent about, we're going to do things the way that we do them. Yeah, we're in trouble. We're in trouble financially. The banks and the investors are getting a bit twitchy, but a bit of a rabbit's foot and a bit of rub of the green, and if we maybe if we keep a shamrock in our pocket, things will come good again. We've got really positive leads for Q2 next year, and some of those might come off.
But it's down to the definition, isn't it, Eric? Because these companies think they are digital.
That's a really good point. Yeah, because they've got an ERP system.
Or because they have a website.
They have a social media manager.
Yes,
They're
on social media
all over Instagram.
All over it. Yep, absolutely. So that is my. So it's now gone from a thing I used to write about and try to crystallize it in people's minds about this digital divide. We now talk about the digital twin and how it's in most industries and most sectors. It's in the build, and we showed demonstrable proof. So here is your analog industry, which is failing. Your analog commercial practices are failing to deliver against your targets and against your investors, shareholders, stockholders' expectations. There's a curtain through there, and the digital twin of your sector is growing. And there are companies in there that compete with you who are owning that space, who are stealing all the digital air, therefore stealing all of the interaction with your new clients, some of which your prospects, you don't even know their names. You don't even know who they are. And your competition are harvesting all of that and rolling about in all that digital fun on the digital beach. I'm just going to throw lots of digital things in here. Eating digital sandwiches, drinking digital beers, having a great time. Just absolutely. Not only are they killing it commercially, but they're having fun. And you guys are sitting biting your fingernails and chain smoking and drinking continuous double shot or espressos, panicking about the future, but holding fast that it'll come back. It'll come back the way it was, and it really worries me. End of.
But isn't there this thing like you get a new video recorder? Clearly, it doesn't work that way anymore. But you get a new video recorder, you have a flick through the instruction manual, and then you end up saying, actually, I'll get my wife to read the instruction manual and she can program the video. And it's a combination of fear of doing something wrong, and it's a combination of sloth. It's the fact that I don't want to invest the time in learning about this in order that I can be comfortable. And I think that's a basic human trait. You remember, when word processing was a relatively new thing.
I do.
And you would show somebody how to set up tabs and how to set up decimal tabs on their spreadsheet. So when you were doing a proposal, you would type in project management tab, and then it would write in from the right-hand side. So when you put in $1,700, it would go, move in from that side. And you would show that, say to somebody, look, here's what you need to do. Here's how you need to do that, because you're currently just pressing the space bar many, many, many times to move the digits over. And it takes a lot of hassle. It takes a lot of time. And they go, yeah, but I haven't got the time to learn how to do that. But it takes you 2 minutes to learn it, and it will save you 5 minutes on every document you ever produce from now forward. I haven't got time to do it though.
Yeah.
So people are too busy doing the things that soak up, that are demonstratively not delivering value.
The protesters arrived.
Oh, yes. Yeah, the
Propeller head.
comfort factor is huge. And I guess in so many things in the world, even, doing something is better than doing nothing at all. So, we don't know how we need to do this social thing. We don't know how we need to grow a network. But what we do know is how we send out emails or place adverts, because we've been doing that for a decade. So we'll keep doing that, because once upon a time it worked.
Well, there's also that time factor. I still have to do everything that I'm doing. And then you want me to add this on? There's only 28 hours in a day, and I'm working all of them.
Yeah.
Because none of us have ever done anything that wasn't purposeful in our business day.
Yeah.
I just had to go away and we've got really, really, really high tech in the Doyley house. We've gone from zero to hero in the tech. I'm really impressed, and I don't want to be showing off, but we invested heavily in this. I don't know if any of you will recognize one of these.
Ooh. Oh yeah!
Oh, lovely!
Cutting edge.
Cutting edge.
Cutting some slides.
Nicholas loves it.
Yeah, Sarah sort of came across or inherited through the family about 500 50s, 60s, and 70s slides. So she went onto eBay and bought one of these, and honestly, I'm so chuffed. It's actually one of the coolest retro devices we've ever had. So we're doing a slideshow on Christmas Day for all the oldies.
I remember when I was working in my first marketing agency. The first time I was working in a marketing agency, we were doing a big presentation in the Netherlands, and we had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of slides, and they were run by having a projector screen and two projectors. You go from one to the other, one to the other, one to the other, with a carousel on. And obviously they had to be in exactly the right order. And it was most unfortunate that I dropped one of the carousels.
Oh, no.
So I just kind of put the slides in, hoping they're round the right way and up the right way, and just made my excuses and left.
See, when you think about our development, in my lifetime, my commercial lifetime, we used to write on acetate slides and coloured pens and put them on things for presentations. I mean, my goodness. And the other day I got artificial intelligence to write me an article, and so did Tim. Yeah, we've come some way, haven't we?
Potentially, yes.
Oh, potentially.
Well, because I think that nowadays everything is different. Everything is different to how it was a year ago, and it'll be different again in 3 months. And I think that the most important skill that we need to develop is one of pragmatism. We've all got 20 years experience of doing whatever it is that we're doing. And the problem with that is that that X, Y, and Z doesn't work, and that A, B, and C is better. And the problem with that is that A, B, and C, you need to prove it's better. The fact that it should be better and it being better are not necessarily the same thing. And I think constantly revisiting these things, just because you've got AI, it's not a good example, but, just because you've got AI to write an article, it doesn't mean that it's a good article. Just because you've got these tools that could deliver massive value doesn't mean that they will deliver massive value. And I think that that's one of the big things that we all need to be mindful of, that we need to be testing every element of what we do. If I'm going to invest X amount of hours in doing something, is it better than investing that time doing something else?
There's a 50% chance it's better than what you were doing. The AI blog, that is.
50%?
Of course, there's a 50% chance it's not.
But assuming that it is or isn't is the danger, isn't it? And that's how organizations have got into the situation that they're in. They've assumed that the risk of mobilizing network, or risk of being social, or risk of being honest, or risk of being authentic is greater than the reward, so they haven't done it. And what's happened is they've kept treading water, doing the same things over and over and over again. And we all know that if you do the same thing over and over again, people become less and less engaged by it because they've seen it before. So, with your campaigns and how you articulate things, if you don't change it, what happens is people just go, I don't need to listen to this. I've heard him talk about this. And then it just peters out altogether.
The moment that I don't know about you, but sometimes in life, you know about things, but it's not until you get to a certain situation where somebody says, and they give it a name. So, you're at school and you know that when you drop things, they fall. And then someone says, that's gravity. And you go, well, I know that, but now it's got a name. And one of the things that I remember was during the digital download was the point that Simon Kemp made, which is the difference between search and discovery.
Oh yeah, that was a big one.
And for me, that was a big aha. But now I knew about it, but he actually gave it a name. And the difference being, when we search is, we know what it is that we're going to go and find. Whereas discovery is, we don't know actually what we're going to go and find. That we know that we have a business problem, but we don't know what the answer is. And we're out there on social media looking for an answer. And then we find it. And, he described it's a bit like, here in the UK, we quite often have towns where there's a main high street, but if you get off the high street, you'll suddenly find lots of little shops. And, I never knew that was down there. One of my favorite is Guildford. If you go to Guildford, it's got a lovely cobbled high street, and you go down, it's got little alleyways where they've got little shops, and you just didn't know they existed. And that was, for me, was probably one of my favorite moments was the Simon Kemp, where he said, and he actually described the fact that this need for discovery. He talked about it. I think he's a big fan of music, and he's often looking for a particular type of music that fits a particular genre and format, etc. And he doesn't know what he's searching for. It's just one of the things that I really loved.
I love the fact that, these like inadvertent alleyways that he finds, Julie's like, oh, and there just happens to be a used vinyl shop down here. That's amazing.
It funnily enough, it
is fantastic.
We go to all kinds of strange places, and all of a sudden I'll go, I think there's a vinyl shop down here. It's quite powerful, the internet,
It is absolutely.
Yeah, often that's the case. So who else has got a learning from this year?
I would say, one of the big, aha moments, or this is sort of a big conceptual thing that has really resonated to me, which is how much of what we do from a commercial perspective is really driven by behaviors, and how when we try to measure or predict what future outcomes will be, we're looking at past behaviors. And when things change and those past behaviors no longer reflect what may happen in the future, we're in that time right now. For those don't know, whether it be talking about the labor market or economies generally, we're in a time where things are really unpredictable, because the past is no longer informing the future.
Great point.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and I think that I think that's true in terms of the operational parameters of a business, but it's also true in terms of whole industries.
Yeah.
So industries that have been safe places for you to put your bets previously. I'm going to become a lawyer. I'm going to become an accountant. I'm going to become a whatever. Actually, those industries won't exist in the way that they exist a decade from today. And people that are planning they're making their life choices now are. And maybe the best example of this was Mark Zuckerberg's roommate, where his father said to him, you can't quit Harvard and go and follow this Zuckerberg bloke and do this crazy thing that he's doing, because law is great, and you want to be it. And clearly, had he have done that, he would have been one of the richest men in the world.
Yeah.
He didn't. I mean, he got paid off, in fairness, but the reality is that he's got a very different life to the life he could have had if he'd followed the dream. And I think that so often the advice that we're given and the advice that we create for ourselves is based on, as you said, Leonard, looking backwards rather than forwards. Looking at the way things used to be rather than the way they are or are going to be.
Yeah, that's I think that's the big problem that affects that is affecting so many leaders today in every industry. I was listening to CNBC yesterday, which I actually don't listen to that often, but I happen to be listening to it. We had a number of people talking about the mistakes that were being made, or that they believe were being made by the Federal Reserve here in the United States and by investors who are looking at data that is pre-2019 data and pandemic data, and they're looking at that data and trying to make determinations about what's going to happen in the economy. And the point this guy was making is behaviors have changed. The pandemic changed the way people think about things in a fundamental way. So the expectation that they will act in the same way going forward, you cannot rely on that. And so making your decisions about interest rate policy or what have you, you got to be very cautious, because those past behaviors aren't really informing what people are doing in the future.
So what does inform what people are doing in the future? Where should we be looking?
We have to wait and see. That's the thing. That's the thing about, kind of where we are today, because we know, for example, as it relates to workers, that there is a different calculus. People are making a different calculus about their work. And they're applying, they're thinking about meaning, and they're thinking about their lives, and they're thinking about, I should say, their families and what they want to do. And because that calculation has changed, we can't look at what people used to do and say, oh, they're going to do that again in the future.
So are we saying that it's better to not place a bet than to place a bet on the wrong horse?
No, I don't think we're saying that at all, but I think we have to think differently about how we choose that horse. So that's all I'm, there are lots of, trends that we can look at. I mean, we can look at human behavior in a macro way. There are a number of, people, there are givers and takers, you know what I mean? You gotta look at it, look at sort of the big things, and make decisions in that way. But you can't, for at least in this context, the Federal Reserve context, you can make a policy decision because you're expecting people to behave in the same way they once did, because we know there have been huge cultural shifts. So anyway, that for me, the human behavior, whether it's how people are responding to, the digital trends, how people think about innovation, their obstinance, their complacency, just the human condition continues to surprise and marvel me. I'm learning more every day. I'm thankful for the network I have. I'm thankful for LinkedIn and my ability to connect with people and ask them what they're seeing, always testing my perspective. Because it's often off.
And I think maybe that's it, right? Like, instead of assuming we're going to be right because we've always been right before, just being curious about what, like, now this is different. So what can we look at? What data haven't we collected before that might be more telling about where we need to go? And one of the things that just kept coming up for me, Lenwood, when you were sharing, was just that we want to talk about the future of work. We know the future of work isn't going to look like the past of work, but what about creating the future of work, right?
There you go.
We have the opportunity to create that. And we know, I mean, we talk a lot about these types of things on this show, the relationships between people, right? Networks and building that. And these are all human-based activities, right? They're not necessarily dictated by technology. They can be supported by technology, but we all have the ability to create what the potential future of work looks like. But if we sit back and wait, then we're not in a mode of creation.
Yeah, when you were talking, it made me think about experimentation, right? How do we know what will work? Well, we got to experiment. We got to test things.
Look at Bitcoin, crypto. They tried, yeah. But it's easy to scoff at it and laugh at all the people that wasted millions and thousands on. But that's people trying to create something new, and it might come back in force, slightly different shaped, but it's part of the evolutionary process is to try and fail and improve and keep pushing boundaries.
Absolutely.
Although I agree, Eric. Unfortunately, it's one of those things that happens.
Yeah. I think Nicole is it Kunas or Kunas has put the biggest comment we've ever seen. That's huge.
So seeing as we can't read it all, I'll read it.
Yeah.
So it says, the language that we have used well forever is dark, forbidding. People as individuals tend to see the dark side of opportunities. I always suggest the double-sided coin. Which side of the coin do we choose to work from? On a daily basis, we would work and choose and love. Oh, there's loads more things coming in, so it keeps bouncing outside. Will we work and choose the love from that side that suggests dark times now and dark times to come? When we consider wait and see, people do not necessarily understand the actual power that each of us has over our own state of mind, our own happiness. And I think the nub of this is that we're all captains on our own ship on this journey, aren't we? And I think that one of the issues is that we try to kind of map out the future and predict the way things are going to be, and often we're looking for the shortest route between 2 points, rather than necessarily thinking, what's the right thing to do? Let me do this the best I possibly can and have the best possible shot of succeeding at doing this based on the information that I have at the moment. Because none of us have got a second sight. None of us know the way this is going to pan out. But what we do know is that lots of the legacy behaviors that we've had, further to your point earlier, Eric, about organizations believing that they're already digital, what we know is that lots of these things aren't working. And we increasingly have to throw them away and look for something else. And that may mean that we need to try multiple things until we settle on something that does actually work.
I love to that point, talking to that, I love Nicole's last paragraph. Following the crowd and moving with the mob, these are signs of what we are not doing in education, family, and in economy and business. Lack of curiosity, lack of self-efficacy, and lack of self-empowerment create, and she's putting capitals, lack. Just lack.
Yeah.
That's brilliant, actually, isn't it? I might go and register a company just called Lack. What do you guys do? Nah, nothing.
I'll buy some.
So we've had loads of stuff that we've learned from the last year. The power of our networks, the people that we're connected to, these experts that we encounter, and the education that we get from them, either stuff that we're learning which is new or stuff that we're having restated to us that we already know but we haven't actioned or hasn't really resonated with us previously. So what are we all going to do moving forward? What are the strategies that we're going to hope to employ, or we're going to be focusing our thought on over the Christmas period, ready to employ at the beginning of next year?
I'm going to do the thing.
Yeah.
You can't get the thing if you don't do the thing.
That's right.
Or so I've heard.
So go do the thing. But it really works, right? If you're like, we need more business. Okay, so the things we're doing aren't bringing us the amount of business that we want. So what are we going to go do to get more business? And we might go and do some things that don't work, and that's fine. But I think it's really about just letting go of the business ego and saying like, hey, we've done this. It's actually funny because the very first company I worked with when I graduated was a retail furniture company. And retail furniture is still very like TV ad and flyer driven, right? It's old school in that methodology. And I remember someone saying to me once, we have to be on TV because all of our competitors are on TV. And I was like, that seems like a bad reason. But I was 23 at the time. I'm not making decisions, right? But if we continue to not ask, if we continue to just say, this is what it is, and it's always going to be this way, then we're all getting ready to become Blockbuster.
We're all doomed.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be Blockbuster. I don't think any of us want to be Blockbuster. Nicholas, do you want to be Blockbuster?
No.
No.
Brilliant.
So like, but we do that because we sit on our laurels, right? We're just like, hey, this is good, but we're not even in the state of feeling like this is good anymore. So now we're just saying like, oh, this is painful, but let's just sit here. You gotta go do some things, people.
There's a TED talk that I keep watching at the moment by this guy called Eric Doyle, and he does this thing in it where he says everybody's just keeping their heads down and they're not looking up. Do you remember the bit, Eric? Where
Yeah. Because that all things and make us blind to opportunity because our heads are down.
Yeah. You know it off. You must be watching it a lot. You know it off by heart. And it's just like that at the moment where people just seem to just have their heads down and they don't want to look up or look side to side and see what's actually going on. It is very, very strange. I came across a quote this week from Warren Buffett, which is, if we're moving into a recession or a downturn, which it looks like, his quote is that when the tide goes out, you can see who's swimming naked.
Oh.
And I think that we're in that situation where we are going to see a massive change in 2023, because if we do go into a downturn, there's a lot of people that at the moment think that they're invincible. They're doing things, but it's only because the market is buoyant for them. And the moment that there's an element of a downturn, things are going to get sticky.
I think that our role in this is encouraging organizations to be brave, to do things that they haven't done before. Because what we know is that the old behaviors are currently not serving people well, but they are existing on the goodwill that they had previously created. And when that goodwill dries up, people are going to need to try fresh things. They're going to need to be prepared to trial things and step outside of their comfort zone, both individually and corporately. And I think that one of the challenges that we face is that often organizations, particularly in a downturn, they try to batten down the hatches and ride out the storm. I don't think there's going to be an opportunity to do that. And people's behavior towards their appetite for riding out the storm is very different now. Companies like Twitter, well, not so much Twitter, but Meta and Google are massively profitable. Amazon, massively profitable organizations, and still they're laying off tens of thousands of staff.
Yeah.
So it's not about the company's going to stay afloat. It's absolutely about the appetite for doing things differently and driving innovation in these organizations. And that requires bravery.
Yeah, that, Adam, is an amazing point. I think, Brent made it in his, when he was here on the digital download. And I just think executives are not focusing on this, or maybe they are, I don't know. But in a differentiation, that is the key. And I think that's very different than the way business worked before. I haven't really thought that deeply about the past because I'm so focused on helping companies to get to a place of being innovative. But, that's the ticket, as they say. You've got to constantly be thinking about how you're going to create value, not for yourself, for your customer, for your network, and differentiate.
Or are those two things actually different? Right? Because I would say that most of those things that create value for those people also create value for yourself.
Yeah, but it's the focus. if you're focused on yourself, how can we get for ourselves? That's like a dead sea. No channel. You've got to constantly looking out. How do you create value, pushing value out, and then it will come back.
Well, I think that's one of the interesting things, isn't it? And we said about, the fantastic guests that we've had on, the debates that we've had on this during the course of the year. We've been able to leverage the power of our networks, bringing really interesting people in who have had a different perspective on things and true expertise. And most of the people in all of our networks are experts at something. Most people know more about something than we know about that thing. And the people that create that thing that you were saying, Lembert, where you're pushing things out into your network, that it is that nature of selflessly sharing your expertise and empowering people that ultimately makes you trusted and makes you visible and makes you the go-to person for that. And it takes time to develop that, but it's something that we all need to develop. Ironically, it was the norm in terms of doing business 30 years ago. You would go to events, you would go to breakfasts and lunches and Chamber of Commerce events, and you would meet lots of people, and you would listen to them speak, listen to them educate you about what they did and why that mattered, and then you would do the same back for them. And increasingly, the people that are successful in this space, in this new digital space, are people that are employing those old skills, but on a digital platform. People buy people. It's always been true. It will always be true. Not if you're buying chocolate bars or training shoes, but if you're buying big B2B transformational strategic purchases in whatever format they are, you have to believe the person that you're speaking to, and taking that the trust and belief takes time to build.
I think that people by people thing is wearing thin in 2023, going into 2023. What is it about people that people buy? And I think that's the bit we need to home in on. What is the thing about, because it's not just people buy from people. People buy from people. Why? Or which type of people? People they trust, people they love, people they admire. All these things.
All of the above.
All of the above.
Yeah.
Well, there was something that, sorry.
There's a post trending right now on the Crux page. It's going viral on Twitter and on LinkedIn. You can't get the thing if you don't do the thing. So do the thing. Morrison. It's live. It's out there and it's going viral on the Crux company page. Just want to let you know that it's hot property right now.
Get in on this, everybody. You'll want to say you were in on it. No, I just. So when Brent Adamson was on the show, he said something that really resonated with me when it came to the people buying people thing. And what he said was, do I believe a human can help me? So we were specifically talking about sales, but it was like, this is the crux of things.
Yes.
I'm all over it today, you guys. It's great. But do I believe that a person can help me? Because in this industry of technology and automation, we build relationships with people because it feels good, right? Because it feels good. Or we don't build a relationship without a person because it feels bad, right? So if I'm going into the people by people thing, what am I buying, right? I'm buying that I have a trustworthy source of information. And everybody, there's 100 different reasons, right? But it's about buying that relationship between the person because that relationship gives you something. It might just give you a feel-good factor. That's fine. Lots of people choose a product or a service from one company over another company that costs more money because it feels better, right?
That's it.
Cool. But
investing
we forget that.
Yeah, investing in trust and investing in relationships. Absolutely. I think that's absolutely crucial.
So what can businesses do to start to deploy some of these skills, do we think? You know, what are
They should do the thing, Adam.
Do the thing.
Because you can't
Only
get
if they
the
want
thing.
the thing.
If they want the thing.
can't get the thing if you don't do the thing. Yeah.
Do the
No,
thing.
it keeps coming back to that, doesn't it? Ultimately.
What I think it is important because like this is about a fill in the gap with your own thing, right? Like everybody's trying to accomplish something different. So depending on where you're at as a company, if you're trying to focus on funnel, you have to do the things to build your funnel. What are the things you do that build a funnel? What are the things you do that you think build a funnel but don't build a funnel, right? If you want
Do
to
the thing.
just do it. I don't know how else to say it, you guys.
First off, I would say that make this so this whole issue of modern commerce, digital commerce, the digital twin, and all of that, make it a board responsibility. Get it into the boardroom, not into the sales team or up to the marketing team to sort it out. Put it on the risk register. Put it on the risk register. I wrote a blog the other day about corporate risk registers. Every board legally has a risk register, and it's all about what if this happens, and what if our building goes on fire? Where do we relocate to? And what if this happens? And what if I remember actually one time being at a board meeting where we were reviewing, and a new CEO came in, and after he did his 100 days, said, "Can we start to get some of this crap off the risk register, like global pandemic? I mean, when's that ever going to happen?" Honestly, right?
It was pre-pandemic, wasn't it?
It was pre-pandemic. Yeah, it was like 2017. Yeah, like global pandemic. That's just a waste of our time. We just keep going over this crap every couple of months.
Is this person still the CEO? No, they left.
No, absolutely.
They left in 2020.
So get on the risk register. Completely losing relevance in our new digital sectors and going out of business is a huge company risk. Get it on the board, and then that will force the board to then put their heads up and seek advice. Don't just jump in and go, right, everybody start posting on LinkedIn. Don't just jump in. Sit down, get educated, bring in experts, form a plan, and put a new, like I wrote about that company that sat down and did this from scratch. What did they call it? Project. It's gone out of my head. Well, they sat down and they said, right. Do you remember the name of it?
Slaphead.
It wasn't Project Slaphead. No, it wasn't. Project Pandora or something, where they sat down and said, right, okay, whoa, we're in trouble here. Actually, they got their CFO to do a projection, and they went out of business in 5 years if this continued. In 5 years, they were out of business. So they were like, right, okay, we don't have a choice. So we're going to sit down, we're going to rewrite everything. First off, we're going to put an attack team together. We're going to put a think tank together. We're going to bring in specialists. It's not just going to be the board. There'll be some board members there, but we want cognitive diversity on this panel. We want young people from different countries, people from different industries that are now in our company. Bring them in. Yeah, proper cognitive diversity. Project Slaphead, love that. There's been some bombs on this one, isn't there? And sit down and make this a board priority, led, funded by, and given time and room for by the board. Sit down and put your head up, find out what's out there. Maybe your answer's AI. Maybe your answer's social. Maybe your answer's all of these things. It will be all of these things, but how do we get a cohesive plan in place that's not going to crater the organization because it's too heavily, and then put an implementation plan in place to get ahead of your, or get up to speed with, and potentially ahead of your new digital sectors, and be the leaders in that. Make that the ambition to be the leaders in that.
And it was one of the things that Brent Adamson basically talked about. It was a very fleeting part where he talked about actually what needs to happen is the sales and the marketing process has to be reimagined.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, you actually talked to an organization that had put together a plan. So I'm just going to repeat what you said, because I just think it's well worth it, which is the CFO had done a projection for 5 years saying that they're going out of business. So they sat down and reimagined the sales and marketing process. And Brent Adamson said that too.
Yeah. I'm going to drop a bomb here, because this is the one where we're dropping bombs. They didn't reimagine it. They digineered it.
Whoa.
Is that the digital sandwiches?
Digineers. I remember laughing years and years ago, I opened a newspaper and Apple were looking to hire Imagineers. Remember that? Imagineers? And I was like, Imagineers. we've just created this. Can I write my blog first on Monday?
Sorry, AI already did.
Yeah, I already did it.
Yeah.
It's picked it up. Digineering is a new form of digital reprogramming for organizations in a new digital sector. It's the reimagining and working out, getting John and Joanne to put more stuff on LinkedIn is not a digital strategy.
No,
It's not a digital strategy. It's
No.
not serious enough.
No, it's not. It's a
Eric,
tactic.
all of what you were saying reminds me of what I have set for my year, for the word of the year for 2023 for me. Intentionality. So to steal from Tracy, if you want the thing, you have to do the thing intentionally.
That's
And you put digi in front of that.
That you use that word because the research on remote work and productivity of the remote workers is that because they have to be more intentional, they're more productive. Because have to be more intentional. I mean, that's huge, Rob. Congratulations on that word for 2023. I love it. That's a great word. And engineering is a great one too.
Is it possible to patent words?
Registered the domain,
Check.
That's how I do it. I just buy
Twitter
all the
handle, blue
domains.
check mark.
He's already done it.
Yes, digineering. Yeah, so 2023 is going to be the year of change and the year of bravery, isn't it, for everybody? They're going to have to step outside their individual and their corporate comfort zones, and they're going to have to do stuff different to how they did it previously.
Yeah, I will say I am somewhat concerned. I am somewhat concerned about leadership around the world and their reliance on what worked in the past. I'm concerned about it. That's all I'll say.
It's interesting because earlier on, Carol Jean asked a question about what do you think it means or takes to be brave? And the problem with bravery is that I think people think they can train themselves or get to a place where it feels comfortable enough they don't have to be brave. But the whole point of being brave is that there's an innate fear associated with that. I have to try something I don't think is going to work. And in a lot of corporate work environments, there's no culture of that. Right? Like the culture is we do what works. We do what other people have already proven works, except what we're living in now is an environment where no one really knows how to make this work. And we have to figure it out. And we don't have the practice or the confidence in ourselves to be able to figure it out and maybe get it wrong. Right?
It's
so
fear blame. Fear blame runs corporate America. Nobody wants to be blamed.
When do startups flip from failing fast to don't fail?
There's a certain bureaucracy. There's a book.
Yeah.
There's a book. It's called The Founder's Mentality. And they talk about the things that happen when a startup grows to a certain size. And then the managers come in, the corporate people come in, the founders kind of leave, they take their money and go do stuff, and then the mentality in the organization changes. And
because we go back to doing it safely.
It ultimately kills growth.
Because we go back to what's safe. Someone else has proven that this is safe, and we want our company to safely grow, and therefore we'll invest in the thing that is safe. But
yeah, startups have nothing, so failing is okay. But once they start to get something, well, I want to keep this. So,
there's a purpose in what the founders are doing that powers the company when it's first starting. There's purpose in it, right? There's a problem that they're trying to solve, and they're passionate about it. And so they go deep on it. When the managers come in, their passion becomes the numbers and what Wall Street says.
Yeah.
And so they start cutting things and doing things that destroys what created the company, what made the company great. So that's why they call it the founder's mentality. They got to get back to that passion for the customer. and helping the customer solve their problem. That's what is powering the company.
Vote for Senator Ross.
Yeah.
I was
I
going
was
to
just
say,
thinking
Lemon
exactly
is
that.
not passionate about this at all.
There was
Glad
proper
they-
passion there,
I
wasn't
love
there?
it when Lenwood gets up on the balls of his feet and he's like, "Now listen to me." And I can I just say I'm gutted. Digineering is a digital marketing agency in Johannesburg.
Oh,
Eric,
I'm sorry.
it was.
It was.
Leave that to me. Leave that to me.
But the bring the power of social to bring them to their knees.
to full bear on them.
Yeah.
So we're at an hour. Thank you all for a wonderful roundup for the year and for
Thank you.
what fantastic content from the audience. Absolutely brilliant thoughts and ideas and perspective on things. So everybody have a lovely Christmas and a very happy new year. And 2023 will be an interesting year for all of us. And yes, you can't get the thing if you don't do the thing. So do the thing.
Do the thing.
And have a lovely break, everybody.
Let's go do intentional things, everybody.
Engineeringly.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks to the
Bye.
audience.
Merry Christmas. Happy
Thanks.
Hanukkah.